All right, Josh Strife Hayes just released this video. What makes a game pay to win? And considering Josh Strife Hayes, and I can never not say his full name, mostly focuses on MMOs, I think this is going to be a really interesting watch.
Pay to win. A phrase you've probably heard many times before. Most people would describe it as the ability to become more powerful in a game by spending money. But what exactly does it mean? Why do so many people have such a vastly different interpretation of this relatively simple phrase? Why is there such ambiguity around three simple words? In this video, I'd like to look at what many different people think pay to win means, how it can be applied, and the fringe cases where it may not be the most accurate descriptor. Then
the first thing that comes to mind, I'm not going to be too much of a pause Andy here, but the first thing that comes to mind is the damn SDS Fenrir mount in Final Fantasy XIV. The people that are in Bajra, when you first get into Bajra, and like, no, you have the fast mount. It's not actually pay to win, guys. It's not.
And we'll look at how people are reframing the monetization systems to still sell you power, but not be considered pay to win. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes.
He is a beautiful man.
MMORPG games have many different monetization methods available to them.
Am I being a 420 Andy right now? I am. All right, okay, let's make this a little bit better. He looks just as grainy. Okay, fine. We'll hope 2K catches up to the modern world.
Play forever without needing a monthly subscription, like Guild Wars 2. Some games have a free trial that you can play for as long as you want, but once you do start paying the monthly subscription, you must continue doing so.
Final Fantasy XIV's free trials all the way up to level 16, containing the entire Heavensward expansion, which is like 100 hours of content. Just FYI, go back to the video.
Like Final Fantasy XIV. Some games are buy once, and then there's an optional monthly sub that gives you a few bonuses that you don't necessarily need.
Thanks, Josh.
But they're a nice advantage, like Elder Scrolls Online. Some games have a free trial and then a members-only area that you can pay as and when you want to access it, month by month.
The stripper lounge.
That'd be RuneScape. There are many different ways to monetize your game, and several of these methods favor the players. But the most widely hated monetization method, by a long shot, is when your game becomes pay to win. Before we dive into exactly what pay to win is, consider dropping a like on the video or subscribing to the channel for more MMORPG content.
Very worth
Ring
it.
the bell for all the future notifications. As usual, a huge thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More on how you can support at the end.
Before we get into it, I'm just going to give my thoughts on pay to win. My thoughts on pay to win, just straight up, off rip, without thinking about it too hard. If you are paying money to directly influence player power. Player power. That is pay to win. Path of Exile has paying for more storage space, which in theory will let you, store more items and do all this stuff, but I don't think that really impacts the game in that much of a way. Now, I'm not huge into Path of Exile, but it seems more like a convenience thing, which means you have more time to play the game, which is in a farming game makes sense. But I think that that's not pay to win. Also, shout out to the King of Norway, who is helping Josh over here.
For now, let's begin. In this video, I'll have footage from various MMO games playing. They won't all be pay to win, but I will include the monetization methods for each game on screen. Depending on your own interpretation of the phrase pay to win, you may consider them so, and that's the first major hurdle with defining this phrase. It's
definitions,
so simple
baby.
And short, it's open to many, many different interpretations. So let's break a few of the
We're going full Greek
down.
here. We got to debate about the definition before we can debate about how the definition impacts anything. Full on Greek.
The phrase pay to win is pretty simple. Paying money means you win the game. So let's go with that very simplistic version. Imagine you are playing a game. In the game, there is an amazing, super overpowered weapon. The only way to get the weapon is to pay real money. You cannot grind for it in the game. It's not dropped by a boss, and you cannot trade it with other players.
T-weapons if you follow the current meta in Final Fantasy.
By paying real money. I think we could all agree this is an undeniable example of pay to win, and this type of system doesn't sit well with many players. The few who can and do pay will enjoy dominating those who can't. So those who can't will leave and your game will die. Game designers know that selling overpowered weapons or armor for real money is a great way to make money very quickly, but it's not sustainable, because once your player base realize you are doing this, the majority of your player base who are not paying will simply leave.
You say that, but look at Genshin Impact, right? Like, the developers got smart. You paid money to get a guaranteed overpowered weapon. Whew, we hate that. Gamers rise up. But you pay money to only have a chance to get an overpowered weapon.
because the game becomes unfair to them. If you sell power, you will make money, but you will also alienate a massive amount of your player base. And this is not exactly a good tactic you want to go for when game designing. So what if there was a way to keep selling powerful things, but also keep all of the non-paying players around? What if there was a way to make those non-payers think that your game is still fair, even though it isn't? I'd say it's fair that if we all agree the only way to get a powerful item is by paying real money, the game by definition is pay to win, because getting that item is winning. But here's the trick many game designers are hoping that you will fall for. The most common argument against a game being pay to win is when people say to me, but you can get the item by playing the game. So
you can just get the item. Just play the game for it. Doesn't matter that I spent $10 to go and get this upgrade material just real quick. I mean, you just go to give it an easy 100 hours or 200 hours and you'll get it too. You know, I mean, like, I got a little bit of money, you know, I'm a working man. I come home and I'm ready to get off my job. And I'll just pay that extra $10. Go grind the 100 hours for it if you're like too worried about it.
So let's explore that. Imagine you are playing a game and someone kills you. They have a super powerful weapon and you want that weapon. You discover you can buy it in the game's cash shop for 100 real pounds, or you can get it by killing a single simple boss in the game. A boss which any player can kill and takes about 1 hour. That's really a no-brain decision. You'll go and kill the enemy and get the weapon. It's only 1 hour of your time. That's easily worth it over spending £100. 1 hour of your time is worth less than £100, so you do that. In this example, the item has a real-world acquisition value, £100.
Time and money, baby.
But also an in-game time acquisition value, roughly 1 hour. To many people, spending the time of 1 hour is more efficient than spending the money, because the acquisition cost in time is less to them than the cost in money would be. Most people would happily lose 1 hour, but not £100.
Virgin free-to-play, never has enough gold for anything, has never won a challenge or even a new card from it. I only lose because of over-leveling. Gets offended by the mere mention of emotes. How dare you? The Chad pay to win. All the gold in the world belongs to him. Only maxes one deck to surprise unsuspecting people. Successfully hijacked his mother's credit card. Oh, how does it feel to get dunked on by a 12-year-old with a Burger King crown?
Because most people make less than £100 an hour. Very few people will call this exact example pay to win, because to many people, playing the game is the best choice here. But what if we keep the mechanics of the situation exactly the same, but we change the values? Imagine if the super powerful weapon only cost £10 in the shop, but finding it in the game now takes 100 hours. The mechanics of it being available haven't changed, but now you may feel a bit differently about whether the game is pay to win or not. In this example, for many people, playing the game is no longer the best choice. Here we are looking at the acquisition cost of the item and asking, what's more valuable to you? £10 or 100 hours? Which of these would you rather lose? Now we're pushing into what many would consider pay to win, because spending £10 is now preferred over spending 100 hours. We can keep...
If your game design convinces you that throwing money at the developer is preferable to playing the damn video game, I don't, like, at that point, you're just, it's a business transaction. You know what I mean? It's no longer playing a game. Like, buying a game's a business transaction. Playing a game fucking shouldn't be. It's that simple. I knew a guy in Final Fantasy XIV. He used to heal for one of my statics. And he would go and he would buy Gil from RMT. Not officially sanctioned pay to win, but he would buy Gil from RMT, and then he'd go and he'd get the best crafted gear for Scholar, back when accuracy was a thing too. And that crafted gear helped with raiding, because he didn't have to worry about getting it up. He didn't have to worry about like getting his Gil up. He didn't have to worry about getting his crafters up. He'd just be like, yeah, no, I'll just go buy it, you know? And he was better positioned to jump into raids faster than somebody who couldn't do that.
Keep the mechanics of this situation the same and change the numbers to anything. If we use hyperbole, we can go to, would you rather spend a single penny or 10,000 hours to get the best weapon in the game? By now, pretty much everyone's agreeing to spend the money. But what this sliding scale, or not pay to win into pay to win, reveals is interesting. Because it's not a defined moment. There is no one single accepted mark on the scale where the game goes from being not pay to win to pay to win, when the time acquisition and the money acquisition flip in their authority. That moment will change based on how much you as an individual value your time. Now, some people will argue that the ability to buy the weapon at all makes the game pay to win. Even if there is an in-game way to grab the weapon, the fact that it's in the shop at all for anyone to go and purchase makes the game pay to win.
You got to respect the purity of that
worldview.
worldview.
Obtainable with time, this brings another element to the discussion. We now need to work out how much your time is worth to you, and I do this by basing it off the hourly wage versus how much time you'd have to spend in the game. If you earn £10 an hour, which is above the average minimum wage in the UK, you could say any progress in the game...
Like, I know £10 is, like, basically 100 USD, clearly. But I didn't know that their minimum wage was that low. I thought they had a much larger minimum wage in the UK. Today I learned.
Must be at least £10 an hour worth of progress. So if it turns out that you can get an item grinding for 2 hours or just buy it for £10, you're going to equate that item to time in your own head. You're going to stop working out how much money is it worth, and you're going to start looking at how much time is it worth. If the game says to you, hey, you can buy this item for X amount of money, or you can grind for X amount of time, you will work out whether the time and the money is worth it to you.
Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a serious discussion real quick, because he's talking about personal value. Like, personally, is it worth it to you? Is it pay to win to you? But there's a difference, right? There's an additional factor that's outside of the individual. And that is the way that paying for goods in a game that requires grinding otherwise devalues the accomplishment of everybody else who grinded for it. Because really the only way, like the only indicator of investment in a video game, besides, like, I guess you could say there's financial investment, like some games are based on that. Star Citizen is all financial investment. The primary metric for, I'm invested in this world as part of the MMO, is the amount of time that you've spent, and there is a personal connection between the amount of time you spend getting something and that thing you got, that achievement that you acquired, the item that you got after 100 hours of grinding. And even if Rich Boy Andy decides to go and buy it, the fact that he now has it for $1,000, it devalues your investment in the world. I think for a lot of people. Maybe not everybody. Some people don't care about that shit. Some people really don't. They just do them. But I think that a lot of people, knowing that something is purchasable by somebody who has a lot of disposable income, devalues their own time investment. And whether that's right or not, I think that's up for debate. That's more about a human psychology thing. But I think it's important for game designers to take note that that is a reality that happens no matter where things fall on this scale.
But as different people earn different amounts of money, that switch of paying becoming worth it for you versus spending the time to get it is always in flux. If you earn £10,000 a day and there's a game-breaking item which costs £10,000 and takes a year of in-game grind to get,
easy
it's
pay to win.
worth it for you to just buy it. And many others would argue the game is pay to win. But you could reply, no, I got this by paying, but you could get it by grinding. I got it earlier because it's efficient for me to pay, but that doesn't prevent you getting it. So having an item be accessible through both paying real money or playing the game doesn't actually prevent the game being or not being pay to win. But there's one major issue many people forget whenever they use the phrase, you can get it in the game. MMO games do not stand still. They are a live service medium, constantly being updated and expanded. And the time spent grinding toward a powerful item is also time creeping toward the next major game update and an even more powerful item being released. If you could spend money or grind for 2 months to get a powerful item, but in 2 months' time there's going to be another update with a better item, now you're faced with an even more predatory choice. The power of any weapon or armor in a game is judged based off the power of other weapons and other pieces of armor. You are the best in relation to others. If once you grind for the best item, another more powerful one has released, you never actually have the best. You will never get that feeling of superiority. Neverwinter did this.
Oh, he's about to give an example, but imagine if in Final Fantasy XIV, it took 5 months and 28 days of pure grinding to get the max item level weapon. You didn't do it through the raid, almost on the 6-month cycle. 2 days later, and somebody else could buy this max item level item. And they have it for those 5 months and 28 days. 2 days later, the item level goes up. And you were king for a day. Literally king for a day because they had a day's worth of maintenance. And so the amount of time you get that you get to use that great item, it's gone. Like, what was even the point? Why would you want to grind the content? And so then it really does become pay to win because people realize that the value of having it isn't even worth it unless you pay for it. So now you have this scale where grinding it, you have this level, like this kind of value, like, and it actually dropped off. It's actually like this is the scale of value to grind. But if you buy it, whoosh, there's the value, and it just goes super high, super quick because you're using it for more time.
Incredibly badly. It would take you months to get the best item, and by the time you did, the new expansion was here and your item wasn't the best anymore. In this case, paying for the item is your only choice if you want to use it while it is still the most powerful. And it's this design technique many people forget and companies use all the time, because hardcore fans of the game will instantly rush to the classic line of, you don't need to pay, you can get the items by playing.
Doesn't
matter.
But
they fail to account for the cost of the time investment, meaning even if you can get the items by playing, by the time you get them, they are no longer relevant in comparison to the other items in the game. But what if the shop...
Has anybody ever, like, bought a month-long buff in a video game when there's only 2 days left in the buff, and it's not like a rolling 30 days from now, but it's like for the month of October, but it's October 27th or something, and you bought it and you realize, I just bought the October pass and I got 3 days of value for 30 days of purchase. That's what this is. That's what this is, except for you're purchasing it with your time, which is arguably more valuable.
Shop isn't directly selling the item or the weapon. What if you can't go to the cash shop and just buy the endgame gear straight away, but you can buy small minor advantages that will make getting the endgame gear easier? You can buy a faster mount than anyone else can get. You can buy more inventory spaces. You can buy a revive potion for you or for your entire team. You can buy an upgrade item, or if your game has an upgrade system where the item or the reagents may break, you can buy a special item which prevents the item breaking, prevents loss of the reagents. You can buy all these little advantages, and that's where the lines become blurred. Pay to win, pay for advantage. Are they just the same thing with extra steps? Many people say to me, you can't pay to win in this game because you can't just buy the best items or armor. You can only pay for an advantage. And
it goes back to Genshin Impact. Yes, we've moved from you pay to get the thing that you want to you pay to have a chance not to get it. Nobody wins. It's same shit, but nobody wins now.
This irritates me because it goes back to the same sliding scale problem from earlier.
Yeah.
Any process in a game will take time, and if you can spend money to speed up that process, you are replacing time with money. And how much time you can or want to replace with however much money you have or are willing to spend will differ based on how much your time is worth to you. If you need to get to the next village in a game to complete a quest and walking there would take you 5 hours, or you can pay £5 to teleport instantly, you're asking yourself, is 1 hour of in-game running worth £1 to you? You'll probably take the teleport, get the powerful reward, join a team of other players doing some tough content and survive because you've got the powerful stuff. Your success and advantages then snowball. You could even go and find the other still travelling non-teleporting player and kill them with the powerful quest reward you just got.
That's toxic, bro. That's toxic. You pay to teleport up, get an item, and then you walk back, or even worse, teleport back just to gank low levels. Yo, that's so toxic. Yo, the trust fund mercenary squad. Oh my god.
Weapon or piece of armor directly doesn't mean you're not making the acquisition of them a lot faster. I mean, that's literally what paying for advantage means. You're still giving yourself the ability to access the win state faster. Instead of directly buying the sword, you're directly buying an advantage to go and get the sword. There's an extra step involved, but ultimately spending money still means you are getting to the win condition faster.
But now you just spend more. because now you're rolling for random chances or trying to get more materials. It's actually, you end up spending a lot more than if you had just bought the damn weapon outright.
If a company want to sell you something, they need to work out whether it's a thing you want or a thing you need. If it's something you want, you can often just pass over it because people are pretty good with money. If it's something you need, you're much more likely to buy it. So they start selling you things you will need, like power. If you don't buy it, you'll fall behind. But then they realise that once the player base works out they're doing this, the player base leaves. So a company is in an interesting position, where they want to sell you something you need instead of something you want, but they also want to give you a way to acquire this needed thing without paying real money. Because that's the justification for saying the game isn't pay to win. If there is an item in the cash shop, but there is also a way to acquire the item in the game, they don't want you to acquire it in the game, because they don't make any money when you do that. It's in the game, so they can point to that and say, look, it's not pay to win, it's in the game.
That's such deceptive tactics. I'm trying to think if Final Fantasy does this in any way for Final Fantasy XIV. I'm not actually super familiar with the Mog Station. It's mostly just cosmetics, right? It's just mostly mounts and Fantasias and shit, right? They do bring back things that were in previous events, like the cosmetics that were in previous events, but they don't tie it to player power. And it's mostly just rehashing that stuff, I think. If anybody knows of anything that's falls into this weird category, let me know. Oh, you know what? Wait, there's an obvious one, which is story and level skips. Though I don't feel too bad about those. It technically falls into this, but it's not related to endgame progression. It does save you time, however. But yeah, those are probably the most, the closest things to this.
If they really wanted you to acquire it through playing the game, it wouldn't be in the cash shop. The cash shop is full of things that you will eventually need. This makes the game pay to win. Even if you can acquire those things in the game, through time, the company often forgets and hopes that you forget as well that your time is as valuable, if not more valuable, than your money. So how do we define...
Just to get back to the level and story skips, this might be a little bit of copium, but I feel like because it's not something that is really about player power, but it's a roadblock to getting to the end game, it's a little bit less in this category. Maybe that's a little bit of sipping on that copium though, because some people they just want to play that part of the game because end game is kind of distinct. I don't know. I might be high on my own supply there.
Pay to win. Well, unfortunately, because it's such a simple phrase, definition is difficult. There's a reason legal stuff is long and wordy. It's to be as specific as possible. If the definition of something really matters, you can expect pages and pages of very complex legalese explaining exactly what it is. The phrase pay to win means too many things because different people can have different definitions for when paying becomes winning, how much the paying needs to be compared to potential time investment, or what winning even is in an MMORPG game. Personally, I see the virtual world as separate from the physical, and any limitations you've faced in the real world shouldn't follow you into the virtual. And likewise, any advantages you have shouldn't transfer over. The great thing about the virtual world is the chance to...
That's actually a huge oof.
To reset the equilibrium, to have everyone on an even footing. It's one of the greatest strengths of online adventure games. We are all adventurers and we all start fair. But the more you allow the real world wealth to impact this, the less fair it becomes. One of the most beautiful ideals of the online adventure game is as long as two players can access the same game, they should start on the same footing, and their success in the game should be based on their understanding and their skill within the game. If putting more money into a game makes your life within the game easier, or gives you an advantage like travelling quicker, or carrying more, or getting closer to the ideal win condition as considered by the majority of the player base, someone will argue your game is pay to win. But if you can achieve all of these in-game without paying real money, someone else will defend it as not pay to win, because you can use your time instead. What the defenders often fail to address is what time is worth changes person to person, and how long you get to enjoy the item for will dictate whether it's worth paying or worth grinding.
Just wanting to point out, the ultimate solution, if you feel like a game is pay to win, the ultimate solution is not to argue about it online with strangers on Reddit, but just stop playing the damn game. Just leave. Like, there are so many games out there. If you feel like a game is pay to win, just fucking pack your bags and go to one that you like better. Like, and that's not to say, like, you can't criticize a game that you love, because maybe you love the game. But if it's part of their core philosophy, it's probably not changing anytime soon. Like, if Final Fantasy were to start making things pay to win, I would be bitching up a storm. Because I don't believe it's part of its core philosophy. And I would be like, these are changes that are bad for the game. But if it went on long enough, I'd just leave. You know? Like, that's what you gotta do if it ends up being a lost cause. Be vocal until it's, like, clear that change won't happen. And then bail.
If getting an item would take 1 year, but within 1 year the item will become irrelevant, grinding is now pointless. Paying becomes the only way.
Playing the game is now pointless.
Pay to win or pay for advantage lie for you personally. How much money per item versus hour of grind is the correct balance point? Are there any acceptable examples of pay for advantage, or is selling power on any level at any amount always unacceptable because it cannot possibly be balanced to be completely inclusive? Let me know in the comments below what you think about paying to win or paying for advantage in games, and in the future I'll return to this topic and we'll try to find the perfect line, balancing cost and time.
That's
Cheers
wild.
for watching. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and Discord. And as always, have a great day.
Yeah, so this is an interesting topic, right? Like, this is a very interesting topic. Let me go and like this video real quick. That was a good video. I think that the line is blurred. I think that the line is, I'm gonna let this roll. I think the line's blurred. I think that it is very much something that is up to the person. I think there are some games where it's acceptable on a personal level. Like, I don't mind the way Warframe does it for the most part, because they have an entire economy based around it for free to play. Leave in the comments, like, do you guys think that Final Fantasy has any of these elements? Do you think story and level boosts count? I mean, it saves time, but it doesn't really add. I don't view leveling in Final Fantasy as like player power. Personally, I just feel it as like learning your class. And if you want to just skip that process and get straight to the end game, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's a big deal. But again, might be high on my own copium. I forgot to mention this before, but I'm going to leave a link to Josh's video in the description below so that you guys can watch it at your convenience. And thanks for watching this video. Leave a like if you had a good time, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.